Good morning. This is the Blaine's World webcast that can be found each week on Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn. You can also listen in on Spotify or Apple Podcasts and get more information and listen to previous shows on our website, www.blainesworld.net. I'm your host, Blaine Greenfield, and I'm here in my Zoom studio in lovely downtown Fairview, North Carolina. Each week, we focus on positive news and information about people and organizations in both Western North Carolina and throughout the country. And toward that end, it's my pleasure to introduce a friend of mine, Linda Pannullo, owner of Pannullo Mosaics. And Linda, you can feel free to wave to all your fans and friends who are watching this. So that is Linda. And I should mention that I guess I first met Linda in another capacity. She starred in a show I was in. I had a very small part. Linda had a much bigger part. And Hands on a Hard Body. Was that it?
Hands on a Hard Body, right before COVID, 2019.
Okay, right. And I saw you in that. I also saw you in another show in at Asheville Community Theater, The Producers.
That was the first show that I was ever in, and I loved it. I wanted to be one of the old ladies that danced with the walker, and I got my wish.
Yeah, really? You actually wanted that role?
Yes, I did.
But that's unfortunate. It's like typecasting. You know, you should have been you should have been the younger woman, the vivacious woman. You know, you should have asked for that role. You could have carried that off as well. Well, that's interesting. Had you ever acted before?
You know, one time years ago, I was in Tommy with I think with the Blue Ridge Productions, and just like in at ACT, you usually have more than several roles. So I was in Tommy, and I was in the chorus, and I was the snotty reporter in the second half, but that was 10 years ago. But my first musical where I actually had like a principal role was in The Producers.
Okay, and boy, you hit that role. You hit that role. You hit Hands on a Hard Body. But let's go back a little bit. So that was not your primary interest. Your primary interest, I guess, or what you do professionally, you're an artist. Is that correct?
That's correct. I've always loved, I have a strong creative streak. Always have liked doing things with my hands. So for 25 years, I had a massage practice that I gave up last year. And all the while I was doing mosaics, and basically it just switched roles. So I'm not retired, I'm rewired.
That's what I call it too. We'll talk about that then. So you've been a massage therapist, you've been an actor, you've been lots of different things, but you also then got into art. What got you into art?
I had a book about mosaics and concrete, and I saw that this woman was teaching a workshop at the Aramount School of Arts and Crafts in Gatlinburg. And it was a week-long workshop where we actually made like a totem pole, 3 objects that we strung together. And I was just hooked after that. So I started taking traveling, taking different workshops, learning as much as I could about mosaics. And then around 2015, I started hosting artists here. I figured Asheville's a destination city, people would want to come here. And so I was getting the best artists in the country, and also some from out of the state that would come and travel here. And so I would learn from the artists and then I started teaching. Teaching is sort of in my blood. Another thing that I do is I teach at the Center for Massage and Natural Health on Eagle Street in Asheville. And I've been a teacher there for 23 years, teaching the musculoskeletal system to new students. So teaching and art go hand in hand.
You mentioned you bring in people to come to Asheville. In what context? Were they taking a course with you, or were they studying? What were they doing?
They were doing both. So I rent a studio space in the River Arts District, and some of the things that I teach, I have a workshop called The Potheads Are Coming.
Love it.
And the potheads is where you take a large terracotta planter and you decorate it in a mosaic style called pique-assiette. Pique-assiette is a play on words. It means smash plate. And so you take plates and repurpose them. And a lot of people love taking the class because they bring out their old heirloom china or pottery that they love that broke, that they can't use anymore. And they get to repurpose it a lot of times into a really funny looking character. So the pothead family keeps growing.
Uh,
So I teach that workshop. I also teach at usually teach once a year at the John C. Campbell Folk School, which is in the western part of the state. I love teaching there. And again, I'm usually teaching when I've taught there. Oh God, the last workshop I taught was a big mirror workshop. I had a class of 8 newbies, never had picked up glass nippers before. And we had a pretty ambitious project. We had a 2-foot square mirror that had a 6-inch border on each side. And somehow we got it done in like 2.5 days. We worked at nights. We just cut and trimmed, and they were like pros. And they made these beautiful mirrors. So one of the things I like is what I call functional art, FUN.
I love it.
Emphasis on functional art. And so when I teach people, I'm teaching them how to do mirrors, make pot heads. My latest workshop was transforming a glass block into an Art Deco-like style lamp. And I taught that in person and also online at the Campbell Folk School.
With the one you just mentioned, that mirror, where is that, or what became of it? Mirror.
Oh, well, they made these mirrors and they took them home.
Oh, they each took them home.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
they took them home. I do have some mirrors in K2, which is a beautiful home furnishing store in downtown Asheville. And let's see, what else do I make? When I go to John C. Campbell in the first week of April, we'll be making garden projects. We'll be making potheads, and we will also be making a wall planter where you'll have like a 2-foot square piece that you could just put on the wall. And I bring my wet tile saw and I cut cups and things, and you adhere them on, and so you could actually make this beautiful wall hanging that you could put water in so it could feed the birds, or you could put little plants in there. And what I love is that I'm taking people who have never used this particular technique at all and just helping them to get in touch with their creative spark
Then
and
now,
have fun.
all this stuff, is this also on your website? People can see some of this?
Yes, it is. My website, I haven't I haven't figured out my 2024 calendar, but it's in the works. So you can go to my website, Linda Pannullo Mosaics, and you can find my upcoming workshops. You can see some of the 3D sculptures that I've made. Other times I've been commissioned. I think 2 years ago I made a gigantic apple for somebody, a 42-inch apple.
Well, she mentioned, by the way, it went through it quickly. Linda, if you could just repeat that website again and how to spell it as well.
Okay, it's Linda, Linda, Pannullo, P as in Paul, A apple, N Nancy, U umbrella, L Linda, O Oprah, Linda Pannullo Mosaics. And you can find me with that name on Facebook, or it'll also take you to my website.
Now, we can also mention how to find you is, and I should mention this up front, the reason why some people may have some background noise is right now you're not at home, you're where?
I am at the North Carolina Arboretum, and I'm in their Winter Lights show. It's a gorgeous program, beautiful, beautiful lights here that runs through December 31st. And during COVID, I made a gigantic chair. It's 5 by 3 by 4. I carved it out of foam, covered it with mesh and concrete, and then mosaicked it. And it took all in all about 300 hours. And I was really inspired by the biodiversity of the Southeast. And so my chair has a sunrise in the front and a moon in the back, and it's covered with 44 symbols of the flora and fauna of our region. and 15 of them are state symbols. So it's designed as a tangible piece of art that's a scavenger hunt, and people can sit in it and have their picture taken in it. And this is a piece of art that it's okay to touch.
Now,
And
where'd you come up with the idea though to make this?
um, a friend of mine in Tennessee, Sherry Warner Hunter, does a lot of public art. And so in 2019, I went to her studio in Bell Buckle, Tennessee, and took a workshop with about maybe 5 other women, and we made chairs. And I brought my chair home, was sitting in the garage, and then COVID came. And I had a little bit more time on my hands, like so many other people did. And I applied for a grant through the Haywood Arts Council, and got $1,000 grant. But in order to apply for the grant, I had to have some kind of design. And so always been attracted to suns and moons, and I'm a big hiker and an outdoor person. And so I just started putting all the creatures that I know about or I come across in my hikes, and created this chair. And the bottom of the chair has water. It has a river going around it because river connects all of us. And the name of my piece is Nature's Throne.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that you like hiking, because I'm now going to ask you to take a brief hike because we're talking about this chair. But can you actually show it to us?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And while I'm taking this little stroll, 2 years ago, the Arboretum had a show called Wild Art. And I was the first mosaic artist to get in the show. So I was thrilled. I sculpted 2 butterflies and a Luna moth that was part of the installation. So this is the front part of Nature's Throne.
And by the way, let me just stop you a second. So if people are just listening to this, we're here with Linda Pannullo, and she's at the Arboretum, and she's actually talking about a piece of art that she, I guess it was commissioned or you asked it to do, and it wound up at the Arboretum. So now I'll let you explain it.
All right. All right, so here's the front of Nature's Throne, and it's right in front of the tree that has all the butterflies around it. And when you take a trip around it, you can see it's just covered, like for instance, the dogwood's our state flower, and the cardinal is our state bird. And then around here, I have a red-tailed hawk and a pileated woodpecker that actually has holes in it because it's been pecking the wood in the tree. And then here's the sunrise, the moon coming up, and elk were introduced into our region and are doing really well. And some of the other animals that I have on the back are raccoon and bear. And here's a bear eating strawberries. One of my favorite things that I like is this chair is designed for indoor or outdoor use. It's made of like just top materials to withstand the freeze thaw cycle. And so there's a little depression here in the chair. It slopes down so water comes out and it runs into the waterfall.
I love it.
that then goes down. And on this side, there's a great, beautiful barn owl. And you probably wouldn't believe it, but our state mammal is where is it now? Is the gray squirrel.
Okay, no, I didn't know that.
I learned a lot by doing this chair, and then it's really cool. So if you're not that old, if you're around 8 or 9, when you sit in the chair, the rays of the sun are coming off of your head.
So you made this chair. Where do you actually put it together?
In my garage. It was put together in my garage. Yeah.
And then, so how'd you get it from the garage to the Arboretum?
Very, very carefully. I got a couple of friends, brought my hydraulic table. We excuse me, I'm getting over a little cold. I rented a van and lifted it up on the hydraulic table, tipped it over into the van that had foam on the bottom, and strapped it in. And then when we came to the Arboretum, we were met by the crew, and we pushed it out on the hydraulic table and wheeled it in. And it's lighter than you think because the substrate is foam, compressed foam that I carved. But but it's bulky and it probably weighs between 200, 250. So you needed, say, 4 people to be on either side of the hydraulic table to lay it down here.
Is that the
And
biggest? Is that the biggest thing you ever did?
this is the biggest thing I've ever done. Yeah. Yes.
So I cut you off. You were going to say something else about the chair?
I just wanted to mention that it's on loan right now at the Arboretum. But if there's someone out there who would love to gift the Arboretum and make this part of their educational program, it's for sale. And they can get in touch with the Arboretum, with the director, and talk to Clara Curtis about that.
Okay, but talk about this piece of work then, and we can have you then so we can see your face again. We maybe back to where we were before. But this is a
Okay.
beautiful piece that you put together there. When you were putting together, did you think it was going to be in the Arboretum?
I had no idea where it was going to be. I knew after I did it, I realized that my 2 top places for it to be in would be the Arboretum or the Nature Center, because I wanted it to be in the place where it was going to be seen and by the most people, and also take advantage of the educational component of it. You know, to learn about all the critters that we're blessed with in this area. So no, I didn't know it was going to be here. I went to a sculpture show in Lenore at the beginning of September and took pictures of people sitting in the chair, and I sent them to Clara, and who's the director here, and she sent me an email saying, how would you like, to have your chair be in the Baker Visitor Center? I said, absolutely. So my chair is right by the Christmas tree that has all the monarch butterflies on it.
So I could just see how much fun it would be for people to come in and they just plop in there, mostly kids.
Adults love it too, because again, most of the time you're told you can't touch art.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
And this is fantastic. It's meant to be touched. It's meant
Okay.
to be touched. And the other thing I want to mention is you always I've always wanted to put the A in STEM. STEM stands for science, technology, engineering, math. Where's art?
Yeah.
I've always wanted to turn STEM into STEAM.
Well,
And
great,
so
great idea.
that's what this piece means for me, because too often when we have cutbacks in education, it's art and physical ed that gets chopped first. And you couldn't do all the other things without art. And so one of my goals is to turn STEM into STEAM.
I love it. Great goal. So talk about this chair then. So hopefully the Arboretum will wind up there, but if not there, somebody could buy this. Is this an outdoor piece, an indoor piece, or what does somebody do if they buy it?
They could have it as an outdoor or indoor piece. Again, it's got it's made of high fire tile and top of the line thin set and grout, so that it can withstand the freeze thaw cycle of our area. The Blowing Rock Museum of Art and History was also interested in having it there at their place and having it outdoors for kids to be able to go in and use it as an educational instructional tool.
I could see. I mean, I'd love to see it there. Wouldn't you love to see it also at a school though? Someplace. I mean, just so many places. I guess that's just not easy though to be moving around from place to place. But what a cool chair.
Yeah, and the Arboretum has a lot of programs for kids. So they come to here on field trips. So I could easily see it fitting in with their educational program.
Talk about some of the other work you do. So when you're not doing these large chairs, what does your work also involve? What kind of ceramic stuff do you do?
I do pet portraits. So a lot of people like turning their best friend into a portrait, and having something done in glass is a little bit different than a painting. So I recently did 2 cats for people, and I'm getting ready to work on a dog. Another thing that I like doing, I'm making these mosaic mobiles that I just dropped one off at K2, which is a home furnishing store downtown. So they're, again, a mobile that I carved out of foam and covered it with glass. And they're two pieces that are fitting inside each other, and they're on a battery operated swivel so that they're spinning around. And they're sort of mesmerizing to look at. So I've been enjoying playing with those.
Now, this artwork too, this also, people can see this at the website?
I have, you know what? I haven't put up my mobiles. I will do that this week because they're a brand new thing. I just started fooling around with them.
It seems also, talking about when you put them up, it's perfect season for them. People looking for gift items. This would seem to
Oh,
be the perfect Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa gift item. So if we get up soon, they'll have it. So people can find out about you. Let's recap what you said. So you have a studio is where?
well, I work in my home. I have an indoor studio, and my garage is for my bigger pieces that I sculpt. When I do workshops, I rent a space in the art garden, which is part of the River Art District. It's a beautiful studio space called the Canopy Gallery. And I'll have my workshops there. And then I teach at, I sometimes teach at Pam Robbins' place called the Purple Crayon, which is just north of Asheville. I taught my glass block workshop there, and I also teach at John C. Campbell Folk School.
Now, out of all the things you do, so we talked earlier about acting, you also do the creative stuff yourself, you also teach. Do you have a favorite thing you do?
Besides mosaics,
Well, no, just the teaching or the doing the artwork or the teaching. Do you prefer the doing or the teaching? Which do you prefer?
um, I like them both, but I really enjoy getting in my studio when I'm just engrossed by something new. I've done a couple of landscapes. I really enjoy doing that. And I'm thinking like in 2024, I think I would like to I think I'd like to try my hand at some of the architecture in Asheville or some of the some of the features in Asheville, like the Lazoon bus, for instance, just going down, Biltmore Avenue, you know, things that make Asheville Asheville. So what I like about mosaics is that I'm not limited. I can work from 2D to 3D. I could work in glass, tile, smash plates, um, use rocks and stones, which are more, and have more contemporary feel to my mosaic.
Where do you get your ideas from?
Um, Sometimes, Pinterest. I'll get on Pinterest and I'll get some ideas from that. I'll see what people are doing. Um, just walking around. I'm walking around nature, I'm walking downtown. Um, I've done some portraits of people that are really interesting too. That's a lot of fun, sort of to try and capture their essence. Um, so they just come from all different places, and it's great when something just really smacks me and I can just get to the studio and start working on it right away.
Do you
Follow
have
my inspiration.
like a notebook you carry around where you put your ideas and things you like to do in the future?
I started using my phone.
Okay, a lot of
Yeah, I
people.
find yeah, finally started using the notepad on my phone to do that.
Well, I haven't used that, but that's a great way to just keep your ideas someplace.
Oh, I'll tell you what I do. I live close to Beaver Lake. I
Okay.
love walking around Beaver Lake, and I have seen some of the best sunsets and sunrises just at Beaver Lake. And I finally had an opportunity to do a sunset that's ready to be framed. And so I think what you're going to see from me is taking out some of these photos of these sunrises and sunsets that I took and turning them into mosaics.
And I just wonder about the process. So you centered on mosaics. Have you ever done painting also, or other art as well?
No,
So
no.
just
I mean, I draw. I used to like to draw when I was little. Um, Maybe I work with acrylics a little bit, but there's something about having that glass, the tile, whatever, that tangible that really draws me. And I like to sculpt. So the chair is an example of me sculpting. The mobiles are me sculpting. Um, it's not your traditional way of sculpting because I work with foam, and so I have this. I have several tubes that heat up like a hot wire knife, and you could just carve. You just carve through the foam like you're carving through butter. So you're reminding me when I made the apple. A fellow walked through the arboretum and saw my butterflies, and he had a thing for apples. And he called me up and he said, "Can you make me an apple?" And I said, "Oh, sure." I always say, "Oh, sure." And then when I actually have to do it, I'm like, what did I get myself into? I'm like, I never carved an apple before. But what was really cool was that I collaborated with the welding department at AB Tech because we had to make a stand and an armature that went through because we had a stem coming up that a leaf was going to attach to. And that was really cool. Like I was working with a 4-year student at the welding department and we figured out what the armature was. And then I had to got my insulation and it was a 42-inch apple, which is
as
pretty big. Pretty big, and so the armature, so everything has to so you know what? That's now you're making me realize that's something that I like a lot. To get together with somebody, to collaborate, and to create something new. And we have this general idea, but then we have to start figuring out what are the nuts and bolts when the rubber hits the road. Like,
what
how is this going to really materialize?
what did the guy do with the apple?
He did a fantastic job. He didn't want me to tile it. So I just had to bring it to him in Rome, Georgia. And he had all this terracotta tile left over from his roof. And that's what he covered the apple with. And he poured a concrete pad. And it's at the beginning of his driveway.
Okay, very cool.
This,
By the
yeah,
way, is that
very
on your
cool.
website?
It is on my
Oh,
website. Yeah,
I'll have to look for it. Linda, let me
yeah.
just ask you to recap then a couple of things you said. So first of all, the website slowly, if you would mention that, how to get information about some of the stuff you do. That website again is what?
It's Linda, Linda. My last name is spelled Pannullo, P like in Paul, A, Apple, N Nancy, U umbrella, L Linda, O ozone, Linda Pannullo Mosaics. And I have a Facebook page. So Linda Pannullo Mosaics can take you either to my Facebook, where I post my most recent things. You can also find me through that on my Instagram account. And that will also get you to my website.
Okay. And you also mentioned too that coming up in the future, you're going to be doing some teaching. Can you kind of recap those teaching gigs?
Yeah, I'll be teaching at John C. Campbell Folk School the first week of April doing 2 garden projects. A garden board that you can hang that's going to be covered with plates, cups, cracked china, whatever you desire. And we're also going to make a pothead, a 12-inch pothead that's going to be covered. And great for just being really playful and accessing your creative spirit. I'll be offering my glass block workshop again. Great workshop for beginners. I provide all the tools if you don't have any. So if you never mosaic anything the rest of your life, you'll have the tools to make a glass block workshop. And very pretty to see this, what's called cathedral glass, which is transparent glass shining through. So there's a light that you put in the glass block. So it's
What
like this big gigantic nightlight that you make.
and just knowing you a little bit and hearing you talk about this, I think the one thing that people could also look forward to if they take any of these courses, they're going to have fun.
You are going to have a lot of fun. Yeah, you're going to learn and you're going to have fun.
Okay, well, anyway, Linda Pannullo, I'd like to thank you for being my guest on this edition of Blaine's World webcast. I also like to thank my producer, Cappy Tassetti, and hopefully we'll get to see you in person sometime in the future. And also, now you got me interested in that big chair behind you or in front of you. I want to see that up front and
Yeah,
personal.
when you come to the Winter Lights, please take a picture of you and Cynthia and send it to me. And I want to thank you so much for having me on your show. It only took 4 years, but it was worth it.
Great. Linda, thanks. As always, a pleasure. Speak to you soon.
Okay, good night.